In this video, I'll be going over combining like terms with negative coefficients. Here's an example. All you have to do is first locate all the like terms. As you see x squared here, you want to find anything that's x squared. So we see 5x squared here. So we got these as like terms. So what we do is, let's go ahead and write them out right next to each other. Now we're going to look at the next one, which is the x squared and y. This one's a little bit tricky as it has two variables, x squared and y together. So we need to find one that's exactly like this. We'll see this one also matches. So let's go ahead and write them together. So this way we know to add them together later. So it will be 2x squared y plus 3x squared y. Okay, and next we have 3y squared, and we have a y squared here. So let's go ahead and write these two. So this has a -3 coefficient. So the coefficient of -3, we want to make sure that we write them exactly as -3y squared. Whatever is in front of the variable determines whether it's a positive coefficient or a negative coefficient. In this case, -4y squared is a negative coefficient, so we're going to go ahead and write -4y squared. And lastly, we just have the 4y. So we just write 4y separately, like so. So now we completed them, and the next step is to rewrite them. So -x squared plus 5x squared, the 5 and negative is -1. So 5 minus 1 is 4, so this becomes 4x squared. Now the next one is x squared y, and the coefficient is a +3 and a +2, and 2 plus 3 is 5. So we have a +5x squared y. And next, we have y squared here, and the coefficient here are both negative. So what is -3 minus 4? And the answer to that is -7, so -7y squared. And lastly, we just have 4y at the end, so we just bring it down. Okay? And now just by looking at each of them, they're all different. So that would be our answer. Okay, the next part is going to be combining like terms with rational coefficients. Here is an example. Rational coefficients, in our example, we're going to use decimals and fractions. So this one is going to be decimal, and you can see that the x value here has coefficient of -2.22 and a positive 5.28. And the other item is a number of -2.45. -2.45 is a number by itself. There's no other numbers that need to add or subtract, so we're just going to bring it down. And then we're going to add the 5.28x minus 2.22x. So what we're doing is just taking the number 5.28 minus 2.22. So what is 5.28 minus 2.22? The answer is 3.06x. And the number in front, we just bring it down, so -2.45. So now we have a variable with a coefficient and we have a number. So they cannot be further simplified, so therefore that's our answer. So -2.45 plus 3.06x is our answer for this problem. Now let's try a different one that's a fraction. Just like the decimal we had earlier, this one, we have the coefficient in fractions. So in this case, you can see that there is y variable. So these two will be grouped together. And then we have the fraction of 3/4 and a negative 2/4. So we're going to rewrite them as follows. 3/4 y minus 1/4 y plus 3/4 minus 2/4. So these two, we're going to minus 3/4 minus 1/4 equals 2/4 y. And 3/4 minus 2/4, 3 minus 2 is 1. So we end with 1/4 here. Wait, we can see that there is a fraction here that we can simplify. 2/4 equals 1/2. So 1/2 y plus 1/4. And that's our answer. Okay, now we're going to have a quiz with two questions, one for the negative coefficient and one for the rational coefficient. So the first one is going to be the negative coefficient. And here is the problem. Feel free to take your time on this. I know there's a lot of variables. And pause the video and simply play when you are ready to see the answer. Okay, now I'm going to reveal the answer. Hopefully, you've gone down the list and started with xy squared. And this is the only xy squared. So we just bring it down here. Now going down the list, we have x squared y. And are there others that's x squared y? This one I see is, and this one I see is. So we're gonna group them together. So that's this one, and this one. All right, next we're gonna do a bit orange. And that's y squared. Now there's no other y squared, so that would be it. So we'll just go ahead and bring it down here. Next, we have negative 2x, so x. And that's also the only one, so just bring it down here. Lastly, we have negative 3x squared. And that's also the only one. So we're just gonna bring it down. Okay, now that we've rewritten in different color codes, we're gonna add them or subtract them accordingly. So first, 4xy squared. Okay, that one, leave it the same way it is. Next, we have these three that we need to add and subtract together. Okay, we have a positive 5. We have a negative 3, and we have a negative 2. So positive 5 minus 3 minus 2 happen to become 0, x squared y. That means that it no longer exists, so we can simply cross them out. And next, we have 3y squared. Bring it down. The next color, negative 2x by itself. And negative 3x squared. Bring it down as well. You can see that. Now every one of them is by themselves. There's nothing that are like terms. And so that's our answer. Now if you got this as the answer, great job. But if not, please go back to where the problem occurs or go over the previous examples and maybe seeing where you may have made a mistake. And you can always come back and try this again. Now for the second quiz problem, this is going to be for rational coefficient. So combining like terms, rational coefficient. And here is the quiz problem. Okay, again, feel free to take your time on this and pause the video and then play the video when you are ready to see the answer. Okay, hopefully you look at the variables and you see these two are like terms. And this one is by itself. And then you get another fraction. So there are a total of 3 groups. So starting out, 2/5 A, that's by itself, minus 4/5, that remain the same. And then you have the 2x. So 6.9 minus 3.6, that would become 3.3x. So that would be the answer. We are simply taking the negative 6.9 minus the 3.6 and get 3.3 here. The rest remain the same. So hopefully that's the answer that you got. If you did, good job. So the example that we have shown today are about combining like terms with negative coefficient and rational coefficients. Combining like terms means that we are combining anything. It could be negative coefficient, it could be a decimal coefficient, it could be a fraction coefficient, but as long as they have the like terms, you can add them, subtract them accordingly. Again, I also have a combining like term introduction as mentioned previously, and this clip will also be available at the end of this video. Hopefully this video is helpful to you, and thank you for watching.